What does it take to push an already tense situation over the edge? Is it the attack on a hospital in Gaza City that claimed hundreds of lives? Imagine, if you will, the day of the devastating Israeli attack on a hospital in Gaza City. The air, thick with tension, suddenly ruptured by a massive blast. The sound of the explosion echoed in the ears of the world, a chilling reminder of the escalating war. Hundreds of lives were abruptly extinguished, and the death toll began to climb, a grim testament to the harsh realities of conflict. Well, for more latest news, please subscribe the channel. In the aftermath of the attack, immediate reactions were swift and sharp. Accusations flew like arrows in a battlefield. Hamas blamed an Israeli airstrike, while the Israeli military pointed fingers at a rocket misfired by other Palestinian militants. The truth, buried under the rubble of the demolished hospital, was as elusive as peace in the troubled region. Meanwhile, the US, caught in the crossfire of blame and retaliation, attempted to deliver supplies to the desperate civilians in Gaza. But the escalating war, like a raging storm, swept away the best-laid plans. Jordan, in response to the escalating violence, cancelled a regional summit with President Joe Biden, adding yet another twist to the already complex geopolitical narrative. The rising death toll painted a grim picture. In Gaza, the number of casualties reached into the thousands, with nearly two-thirds being children. In Israel, over 1,400 people have been killed, the majority being civilians. The cost of war, measured in lost lives, was reaching an unbearable level. As the conflict escalated, protests erupted across major West Bank cities and other countries in the region. The international outcry grew louder, a chorus of voices demanding an end to the violence. The United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency reported that at least 24 of its installations have been hit, resulting in the death of 14 staff members. The world watched in horror as the conflict escalated, but the retaliation from Iran was yet to come. In the face of escalating violence, Iran made a move. A warning, clear and potent, was issued to both Israel and the United States. This warning came as a response to the ongoing attacks on Gaza, a reaction to the destruction and loss of lives that have become all too common in this region. Iran's message was unambiguous. It called for an immediate cessation of the violence, a halt to the devastation that has been wreaked upon Gaza. In their words, they urged for peace but also warned of repercussions. They promised a taste of the war's bitterness to Israel, the same bitterness that Gaza has been forced to swallow. This was not a threat to be taken lightly, but a stern promise of harsh consequences should the conflict continue unchecked. This warning also reached the United States, a nation entangled in the complex web of Middle Eastern politics. Iran's message to the US was clear: stop the war or be ready to bear the consequences. This was not just a call to end the violence, but a challenge to their role in the conflict. Amidst Iran's stern warning, speculation has risen regarding potential new sanctions against the nation. The United States, under the Biden administration, has not ruled out imposing new sanctions in response to the conflict. This has led to concerns about the potential impacts on an already fragile global economy, still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic and the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The stakes are high, not just for the nations directly involved, but for the entire world. Iran's warning is a stark reminder of the potential consequences of this escalating conflict, a call to action that cannot be ignored. A line was drawn in the sand, a warning issued. But would it be heeded or ignored? In the wake of Iran's warning, the world held its breath. The question on everyone's mind: what comes next? We've delved into the tipping point of this conflict, the tragic attacks on Gaza hospitals, and Iran's stern warning to Israel and the US. Iran's message was clear: cease the warfare or brace for harsh repercussions. The global community now finds itself in a tense waiting game. The uncertainty that hangs in the air is palpable. Will Israel heed the warning? Will the US intervene to de-escalate the situation? And what role will the other nations play in this intricate geopolitical chessboard? This conflict has potential implications not only for the Middle East but for the entire world. The global political landscape could shift dramatically depending on the actions taken in the coming days. The economic markets, already jittery from the ongoing conflict, are watching closely, as are political enthusiasts and concerned citizens around the globe. We've also touched upon the human cost of this conflict, a cost that continues to rise with every passing day. The lives lost and the futures shattered cannot be quantified, and the path to recovery will be long and arduous. As we wait for the next move, one thing is clear: the consequences of this conflict will echo far beyond the borders of the Middle East.